Star Wars has one of the most large and complex universes in fiction. If you're new to the franchise, it's easy to feel overwhelmed with all the information or crumble under the pressure that extreme Star Wars fans put on you when you don't know exactly how much wrinkles Yoda's ballsack has. But in this two-part video series, this video being part one, I'm going to be explaining all of the stuff that happened in the Star Wars timeline before the first prequel movie. All the good ancient stuff that you really have to read the books and the comics and whatnot to understand, I'm going to be talking about in this video. A lot of the earlier stuff is legends because most of the ancient Star Wars stuff naturally is, but I like to consider it canon because it doesn't really interfere with the canon timeline at all. If you enjoy this video, the like and subscribe button are always down there waiting for your beautiful, handsome, majestic click. And without any further ado, grab your blue milk, sit back, and let's start the video. Every story has a beginning, but in this galaxy far, far away, the beginning isn't a date on a calendar. It's the birth of energy. Long before the Galactic Republic, before the Jedi Order, and eons before the name Skywalker meant anything to anyone, there was the Force. It was even around before cucumbers and potatoes, believe it or not. The Force is a field of energy created by all living things. It surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together. Imagine it kind of like how gluten holds bread together, but it covers an entire galaxy and universe, and the gluten has a consciousness. Kind of, sort of. The Force wasn't just a passive background noise. It had a will. And out of nowhere, it decided to use that will and create beings of unimaginable power. Think Kratos, think Thanos, and beings almost as powerful as me. Now this is where we start to get into legends. Most of the ancient Star Wars stuff is legends. That canon doesn't cover it like at all. I couldn't find nothing canon that covers like the origin of the Star Wars universe. This stuff is technically legends, but just think of it as canon. The first true masters of the galaxy weren't flesh and blood as we know it. They were the Celestials. They were architects of reality, like the epic games of Fortnite. They didn't just travel between stars, they moved them. They built the Corellian system, and they constructed the center point station. Basically a big mama weapon that could move planets and destroy planets with like a big, powerful hyperspace tractor beam. That's basically what the center point station was. Among the Celestials were the Mortis gods. If you've seen the Clone Wars, you know them as the family on, well, Mortis. There was the daughter, shimmering with the blue light of selflessness, the son, burning with the red flame of ambition and destruction, and the father, who stood between them, desperately trying to keep the two sides balanced. Think of it like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, okay? When you make the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you are the father, and the peanut butter is the son, with like flames, anger, and ambition, and the jelly is the daughter with like selflessness, ease, and like calmness. And when you make that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you want to make sure, well, I feel like most people would, make sure the peanut butter and the jelly were even and one's not overpowering the other. That's what the father's job was for the son and the daughter. This family wasn't just a myth, they were a warning. They proved that the Force was a binary, light and dark, and they proved that without balance, the very fabric of the universe would tear itself apart. Fast forward about 36,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, and something out of the blue kind of happened. Across the galaxy, 8 massive pyramid-shaped starships known as the Tho-Yor began to react and turn into Force-sensitive creature magnets. They traveled from world to world, Kashyyyk, Manon, Ryloth, calling out to anyone who could feel the universe, aka people who were Force sensitive. Wookiees, Twi'leks, humans, and Sith, the species called Sith, not the Order Sith. They're two different things, even though one would inspire the other in the future. The species Sith, not the Order. The Order's not yet established. Anyways, all these creatures boarded these 8 ships. All of these Force-sensitive creatures were brought to a single planet that definitely has and will have an amazing weather forecast called Tython. These pilgrims didn't call themselves Jedi yet. They were called Jedai. I'm literally being serious. They're not called Jedi, they're called Jedai. Or Jedai, however you want to say it. In their ancient language, Je meant mystic and Dai meant center. On Tython, they realized that the planet itself was alive with the Force. If the people on the surface fell too deep into anger, the sky would crack with Force storms. If they became too passive, the world grew cold. Man, if you showed one of these Force-sensitive creatures Geometry Dash, bro, Tython would just instantly, just spontaneously combust and annihilate. This plays into the balance we talked about earlier. The Force needs it. Too angry, Tython burns. Too passive, and Tython freezes. The Jedi code was simple. All it was balance. They didn't worship the light, and they didn't fear the dark. They viewed both of them like the 2 moons of Tython. To stay in the center was to be a master, and to drift to either side was a failure. Instead of light being good and dark being bad, being both was good and only being one of them was bad. So it kind of contrasts from what happens later in the universe. But human nature, and in this case, I guess alien nature, is rarely balanced. Over thousands of years, being at the center of light and dark began to hold less appeal. A group of Jedi, led by master named Dagan Locke, began to argue that the dark side was the only way to truly protect the galaxy. They believed that by ignoring the power of the shadow, the dark side, the Jedi were making themselves weak. This sparked the first schism. That's how I'm gonna pronounce it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Jedai. I know it's not Jedi, but Jedai, whatever. Same thing. Well, not, but Jedai. That's embarrassing. This video is sponsored by plastic. Do you love killing sea turtles? Do you love killing ocean life? If you love killing ocean life, this product is for you. If you ever looked at a turtle and thought, I want him dead. I want a straw inside his nose and I want to watch somebody pull the straw out the nose on YouTube, plastic is for you. Plastic is the greatest thing ever because I'm the greatest thing ever and I use plastic. So they're both, you know, we're in competition for the greatest thing ever. Where would mankind be without plastic? Who knows, right? We could still be like cavemen. We could still be tribals with chest on our hair, not shaving, and kidnapping people. We could be those guys. Sponsored by plastic. It's not a real brand. No, it's just plastic. Just thought it'd be a funny bit, you know. Check it out. You probably have some near you, or inside you. You probably have plastic inside you. But you didn't even know that. Anyways, sorry about that. Back to the first schism. The first schism wasn't a war of blasters and starfighters. It was a decade of the Force Wars. Brother fought brother with force sabers, blades forged from the dark side alchemy. These were dangerous weapons. To even ignite one, you had to channel pure hate. Once again, if you showed one of these guys Geometry Dash, they could just make a force saber in like 5 seconds. The followers of the light eventually won, but the cost was the soul of their world. Tython was devastated by force storms. The victors, the light side, realized that following both paths was now impossible. So they chose to follow the light path only. So you have the dark side guys choosing to follow the dark side only. And that war, the first schism, made the light side guys follow the light side only because they realized that you couldn't be both at once. It just wasn't possible to sustain that way. And this is kind of how the two sides were created, the light side and the dark side, which we'll see, you know, all throughout the rest of the Star Wars universe. Having fully joined the light side, they dropped the I from their name and became the Jedi. They left Tython and settled on a quiet desert world called Ossus, vowing to use their power only for the defense of others. I wonder if tens of thousands of years in the future, the Jedi will use their power as helping others for personal gain and become corrupt and start taxing civilizations like crazy. I wonder if that'll happen. That'll never happen, right? Never. Never. Fast forward 17,000 years. The Republic is growing. The Jedi are now its sworn protectors, but a new generation of Jedi began to look back at the old records of Tython. They became obsessed with a very creepy thing called life shaping, which was basically you could use the Force to manipulate the shape of animals and like creatures and stuff like that. It's weird. It was really, really weird. You could even actually use it to create entirely new life forms, which definitely won't be used later to fight the Jedi. Definitely. The Jedi Council saw this as a, not very good way to use the Force, and they banned the practice. This led to the second Great Schism, known as the 100-Year Darkness. The Jedi are kind of getting good at getting people to hate them. Like, first it was the dark side users, and now it was their own Jedi. Like, come on, bro. What's so bad about using the Force to make animals grow new limbs and create new creatures that are gonna live a life of entire agony and pain? Like, what? That's normal, right? That's normal. Just let them be. Let them practice their dark magic. For a full century, rogue dark Jedi, the people who were using the practice and were angry when the Jedi said not to, unleashed legions of mutated monsters against the Republic. Giant war beasts and shadow creatures terrorized the stars. But the Jedi Order was more organized this time. At the Battle of Korbos, the Dark Jedi were finally broken. The Republic wanted the Dark Jedi dead. The Jedi Council, however, being high and mighty, said that their punishment should be exile. They stripped the surviving Dark Jedi of their ranks, put them on unarmed transports, and sent them to rot in the unknown regions. They hoped these fallen brothers would find an honorable and good place to die, but they couldn't have been more wrong. The exiled Dark Jedi drifted through the void until they found a hidden corridor in space that led them to the world of Korriban. When they landed, they didn't find an empty rock. they found the Sith species. The species, not the order, the damn species! These were red-skinned warriors with bone spurs and a culture built on sacrifice and combat. They were naturally strong in the dark side, but they were primitive. To the Sith people, these dark Jedi exiles, with their lightsabers and advanced knowledge, were gods. The leader of the exiles, Ajunta Pal, challenged the Sith King to a duel and beheaded him with a single swing. It's like a coughing baby versus a hydrogen bomb experiment. The baby no diffs. The exiles and the Sith merged. Over the next 2,000 years, they built an empire that the Republic never even knew existed. This was the golden age of the Sith. They built massive tombs in the Valley of the Dark Lords, fueled by the blood of the slaves and the power of the shadow. That line felt hella cool to say. The blood of the slaves and the power of the shadow. They weren't just a cult anymore. They were a civilization. And their entire existence was fueled by a single burning desire to return to the Republic that had exiled them and burn it to the ground. These, my friends, are how the Sith and the Republic came to hate each other. For 2 millennia, there was a great silence. The Jedi thought the dark side was a ghost of the past. The Republic thought they were the only civilization in the stars. But on the throne of Korriban, a man named Naga Sadow was looking at the star charts. He was looking for a way back. And in the next part of our story, he's going to find it. The peace is over. The great Hyperspace War is about to begin. For 2,000 years, the Republic and the Sith Empire existed in the same galaxy. Yet they were as distant as Epstein and adults. Am I right? This all changed in 5000 BBY because of the 2 siblings, Gav and Jory Daragon. They were hyperspace explorers who made a blind jump into the Stygian caldera, the literal heart of Sith space. How unlucky do you have to be to go there? You're star traveling, right? You're going from dimension to dimension, or not dimension, but from space to space to space, and then you accidentally stumble upon the heart of the Sith Empire. The heart! Although they were unfortunate, they didn't find monsters. They found a civilization at its peak. The Sith Emperor, Marco Ragnos, had just died, and 2 lords were fighting for his throne. One of them was the cautious Ludo Kresh, and the other was the more hyper-ambitious Naga Sadow. Sadow saw the explorers as a golden opportunity. He staged a Republic attack on the Sith, and used it to crown himself as Dark Lord. With this title, he launched a massive preemptive strike on the Republic. This was the Great Hyperspace War. It was a conflict of magic versus technology. Naga Sadow sat in a meditation sphere over the red giant star of Primus Galud, using the Force to create massive illusions of armies that made the Republic think they were being attacked on all 1,000 fronts at once. If that confused you, basically Nadao sat in a chamber at the top of his temple and used the Force to create illusions of soldiers invading things, and this made the Republic think that they were being attacked on all fronts, when in reality, Sadow was just messing with their minds and using the Force to create illusions, just to overwhelm the Republic and, make them waste all these resources on things that they don't necessarily need to. But Sadow's apprentice betrayed him, breaking his concentration. It's like saying, imagine you're playing Elden Ring and you're fighting a really hard boss, right? You spent like 2 hours on this boss, and you're slowly taking his health down, and you get his health to like 1 pixel. He has 1 sliver of health. You can't even see it. And then all of a sudden, your brother walks in the room, right? And he kicks you in the balls. And you're like, ah! And then you die to the boss. That's what Sadow's apprentice did to him. He betrayed him, like your brother betrayed you while you were playing Elden Ring. That actually did happen to me. I was just, using an example. The illusions vanished. The real Sith retreated, and the Republic chased them back to Korriban. In an act of quote-unquote justice, the Republic attempted to completely obliterate the Sith worlds, trying to end the threat forever. And they failed. I wonder if that will ever come back and bite them in the butt again. A single young Sith Lord named Vitiate gathered the remaining survivors and vanished into the deep core, beginning a 1,000-year silence. If you watched my Darth Revan lore video, the name Vitiate sounds familiar, and this is kind of where him and Revan come into play in this whole ancient Sith timeline. 600 years later, the unfortunate events resumed. Not from the outside, but within. A Jedi named Freedon Nad grew frustrated with the Council's secrets. Because of this, he traveled to the tomb of Sadow and learned the ways of the Sith. If I'm being honest, we are all learning the ways of the Sith. The Sith is just so much cooler, and who would choose to be a Jedi over the Sith? Nobody. Literally nobody. Unless you have morals, of course. Nad took this knowledge to the planet Onderon, established himself as king, and began a dark dynasty. Even after his death, his spirit remained. This era introduced a not-so-fun concept: Sith spirits. You couldn't just kill a Sith Lord, their anger and hate could stain the planet for centuries. The Jedi eventually called a cleanup crew and cleansed Onderon, but not before Nad's teachings infected 2 more Jedi, Exar Kun and Ulic Keldroma. Don't worry, it's fine if you don't remember all the names. I know they're confusing. Unless you're like a mega Star Wars fan, nobody really remembers the names. Exar Kun became the first to wield a double-bladed lightsaber. The first to be a badass. He waged a brutal war against the Jedi, even murdering the Grand Master on Coruscant. Though he was eventually defeated on Yavin 4, the war left the Republic broken and the Jedi Order fractured. And that weakness invited a new predator, the Mandalorians. The damn Mandalorians! 3,963 years before the movies, the Mandalorian clans united under Mandalore the Ultimate. They weren't fighting for land or money, they were fighting for glory. Or as nowadays we would call it, clout. They began their conquest on the Outer Rim, committing atrocities that the Republic military couldn't stop. The Jedi Council, sensing a hidden threat behind the Mandalorians, ordered the Jedi to stay out of the fight. But there's always one guy who goes against the flow. There's always one guy who butts heads with the Jedi. And in this case, his name was Revan.
The galaxy would have fallen if Revan had not gone to war. Perhaps he became the Dark Lord out of necessity to prevent a greater evil. Revan's choices were always his own. It was not teaching or circumstance or example, it was him. And there is something that the Council may never understand, that perhaps Revan never fell.
And he couldn't stand by and watch the Mandalorians just slaughter people. He couldn't do that. And very rightly so. Alongside his friend Malak, Revan defied the Council and led a traitor group of Jedi Crusaders to the front lines. Revan was a military genius. He outthought the Mandalorians at every turn, but the war changed him. To beat a monster, Revan became one. At the final battle of Malachor V, Revan activated a mass shadow generator, a gravity weapon that crushed both the Mandalorian fleet and thousands of his own Jedi soldiers into the planet's core. The war ended, but the hero who walked into the shadow never truly came back. If you want a full lore video on Darth Revan, I have one on my channel. It'll be linked in the description if you want to check it out. After this video though, because it'll make sense when you watch it and the Darth Revan video. Revan and Malak chased the retreating Mandalorians into the unknown regions. There, they finally found what the Council had feared. The true Sith Empire that had been hiding for 1,000 years. The Sith Emperor, Vitiate, broke their minds and sent them back to the Republic as his vanguard. But Revan is too powerful to be a puppet. He has too much aura. He broke free from the Emperor's control, but he chose to stay on the dark side. He discovered the Starforge, an ancient space station that could manufacture an infinite fleet of ships. Yes, I know, it sounds ridiculously OP. This began the Jedi Civil War. This wasn't an invasion, it was a coup. Revan didn't want to destroy the Republic. He wanted to conquer it and strengthen it for the coming war with the true Sith. Because mind you, Revan knew about the true Sith, but he knew that the Jedi Council would do nothing about it. So he wanted to go to war with the Republic, overtake the Republic for the benefit of the Republic, so he can strengthen them and be prepared for the following Jedi, or not the following Jedi, the following Sith that would eventually attack because he knew the Jedi wouldn't do anything. The war ended only when the Jedi Council captured Revan wounded and wiped his memory, giving him a new identity as a simple soldier. Revan, now a blank slate, had to choose his path again. He chose the light this time, defeating his once old friend Malak and destroying the Starforge. But like always in this universe, the peace wouldn't last forever. With Revan gone, the Sith didn't just vanish, they went even more underground. 3 Shadow Sith emerged: Darth Traya, Darth Sion, and everybody's favorite, including mine, Darth Nihilus. Nihilus was a wound in the Force. He was a void that needed to consume the life force of entire planets to survive. That is sick. Sion was a man who literally held his broken, rotting body together through pure pain and hate, which is also sick. Together, they began the first Jedi purge. They didn't fight wars, they assassinated Jedi in the shadows. In no time, the Jedi Order was down to less than 100 survivors. In exile, somebody who got banished from the Jedi Order, or the Republic, and was able to come back, kind of saved the Republic's butts here because they killed Sion, they killed Nihilus, and they basically just saved the last 100 Jedi from getting killed. But even after defeating Sion and Nihilus, the message was clear. The Sith are like a virus. You can kill the host, but the shadow always remains. As we move into part 2 of this series, the final part, we leave the ancient myths behind and enter the era of the newer Sith Wars, ones that you're probably more familiar with. The time of the man who would change the Sith forever, Darth Bane. That's going to conclude this week's video. Thank you guys so much for watching it this far. If you've watched it this far, I love you. And part 2, the final part of this timeline, will come out next Friday, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, it feels good to be back. You know, first video back. I don't know how it's going to be yet because I haven't started editing it. But yeah, that's going to be it. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much. And I will see you guys next week. Or I guess this weekend if you're watching this, the release day. But yeah, see you guys later.